Hi everyone, welcome back again to my YouTube channel. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you guys how I made this beautiful circle skirt with a layer of net. Now, I made a shorter version of the one you see on the side made by Mayrush online. Well, whichever one you decide to make, whether long or short, the procedure is still the same. So if you're interested in learning how I went about the making of this one I'm putting on right now, keep on watching. If you're still yet to subscribe to my channel, please hit on the subscribe button, turn on notification bell so that you're the first to know whenever I upload a new video. So guys, to make this skirt, you will need about 2 yards of fabric for the short one, like the one I made, and about 4 yards for the longer one. So I am going to go ahead now and fold this fabric. So I'm going to fold border to border first. I'm folding the wrong side of my fabric. So first I'm folding the fabric into two. Let me take you back to a time when love was expressed. So after folding your fabric into two, you're going to fold it again into two. This time you folded the whole fabric into four. So whenever you're cutting out a 360 degrees flare, you must fold your fabric into four. And you will need to measure to be sure that the fold that you have is going to be enough for the length you want your skirt to be. So mine is a short skirt, so I wanted it to be 19 inches long by the time I'm done with the first part of the skirt. So altogether, I made sure that my fold was about 25 inches long. If you're making a long skirt, you realize that when you fold your fabric into four like this, it's usually not going to be enough to give you the length that you want. So most times, if you're making a longer version of the skirt, you will need to add extra piece of fabric to the side before cutting, or you add it after you're done cutting. I have a video on the channel where I made a longer flare where I actually added to the length of my flare. So I'll be linking that video down in the description box. So with that being said, let's go ahead now and cut out this particular flare. So first I'll go ahead and iron the fold that I've made. And then from this folded edge here is where we are going to go ahead and take all our measurements. So I'm going to take the waist measurement now. My waist measurement is 24 inches, but I'll be adding an extra 2 inch to 24, so I'll be using 26 inches to cut out my flare. This extra 2 inch is going to be for my zipper allowance at the back of this skirt. So now I'll divide this 26 into 4. So you're going to do exactly what I'm doing here, relating to your own waist measurement. So now I've divided 26 into 4 and it gave me 6.5. So now this 6.5, I'm going to use it to create a curve like you're seeing me doing like this. It's nothing serious. Just use it to create like a kind of C. Try as much as possible to make sure that it's the same on both ends. And then you will create a point on one side. Now from the midpoint, you're going to measure down to that point that you created. And what I had was 4 inches. So I'm going to use that 4 inches now from the midpoint to create my curve. So I'm going to continue placing my tape at the midpoint and then use the 4 inches to measure, and you notice that you have a curve that looks like a C. Once you're done, measure to be sure you still have 6.5 after you're done making the curve. Now from this first curve, we are going to measure the length that we want this skirt to be. Like I said before, I am going to be using 19 inches. So by the time I'm done adding an extra 1.5 inch band and everything, this skirt is going to be like about 20 inches long. So from the first line I drew, I am measuring 19 inches, and I'm also using that 19 inches to connect another curve, which is going to give me the length of this skirt. So once this is done, I'm going to go ahead and cut out following the lines that I just drew across. Where if you search, you will find it. Now this is it for the cutting out of my circle skirt. This is what it's going to look like when you're done cutting yours out. So now I'm going to go ahead and open up one side. So the part that has this two opening here, go ahead and pick one of it and open it up. So when you're through with this, you can now open up the full skirt to open up in this way so that we'll be able to fix our zipper to the back later. Okay. So now I'm going to go ahead and measure around the waist so that I'll be able to know the length I'll cut out for my band. So I measured around the waist and I had about 28 inches here. So I went ahead to use the length 28 inches to cut out my band, and the width of this particular band was 3 inches. So the length is 28 inches and the width is 3 inches. I went ahead to iron hair stay to it to serve as my interfacing just to make it strong. And then I went ahead to fold it into two and iron it out. So after I was done ironing it out, this is what it looks like. Now I am going to open up the waist area of the skirt and pin this band directly on it. I'm going to pin it all the way around the waist and then head over to the sewing machine and stitch it down. I know that times have changed, but I don't wanna play no games, baby. So now I'm done pinning it down and I'm just going to head over to the sewing machine and stitch it down here with about half an inch, and then I will serge the ends as well. So guys, after I was done stitching it down and serging the ends, this is what it looks like. This is the easiest way to go about your waist for your skirt, okay? So now after this is done, I'm going to go ahead and put the skirts together, right sides facing each other. That opening that we had earlier, that's where we are going to be fixing our zipper. So I'm going to go ahead and measure my waist to know the allowance that I have here. So now I'm going to be using my actual waist measurement, which is 24. So 24 divided by 2 is 12. So from the center, I will mark 12 towards the side. So wherever my tape ended here, I'm going to go ahead and mark it. So the excess is going to be the allowance. So I'll measure the excess, which is about 2.5 inches, and I'll continue to use it to mark all the way to the end of this skirt. So after I was done, I realized that the allowance was a little bit too wide, so I went ahead to cut about 1 inch away from it. So now I'm going to place my zipper from the upper part of the waist. I will extend the zipper because these areas are not going to be part of the zip, and I'll mark where my zipper ended. So from where the zipper ended, I'm going to make a straight stitch all the way to the end and fix a zipper to the upper part. So guys, after closing up the opening and fixing my zipper, this is what I had at the back. It's actually very simple, okay? So now the last part about this skirt is for me to finish up the ends. So I'm just going to go ahead and fold the ends once like this, and then I'll fold it in again a second time. You can decide to pin it down. So I went ahead to pin it down a little bit. So you can go ahead and pin it down, and then we are going to go ahead and stitch all the way around the end, following it like this. So guys, we are done making our circle skirt. I've folded the ends and this is what it is looking like. So you can actually wear this as it is like this. Very simple, straight to the point. Okay, so now the next thing we're going to do is to create the line where we are going to be placing the next layer, which is going to be the tulle, the net actually. So first thing I did was to measure around my circle. So I measured around my circle skirt and I found out that the length around the end of my circle skirt was 3.5 inches. So you also need to go ahead and take the measurement around the end of your circle for you to be able to determine the length of the net that you'll be needing for the second layer. So guys, when I measured mine, it was 3.5 inches. Now that means that the length of the net must be at least twice of that. So for the width of my net, I used 5.5 inches here. You can make it longer depending on the length of your skirt. If you're making a long skirt, you can use about 9 inches for the width. Now for the length of this net, what I have here after I was done taking the measurement all the way around was about 7.5 inches. Because we are going to be pleating this around the flare, so it has to be at least twice the length of our flare. So what I had here after I was done taking my measurement was about 7.5 inches. So now coming down to the skirt, what I'm going to do is from the end of the skirt, I'm going to measure up about 1.5 inch. So I'm going to measure 1.5 inch from the end of the skirt. If you are making a long skirt, you can measure about 4 inches. So I'm going to measure all the way around, but I did it only to an extent here so that you guys will just understand what I am explaining. So guys, this is it. Now the next thing I'm going to do is to bring my net and I'm going to extend it about half inch above my line, and I'm going to start pleating it all the way around the end of the skirt. So I will make a stitch as I pleat along. So basically that's what we are going to do to finish up this skirt. So I'll do it all the way around. I am going to head over to the sewing machine now so that you guys will see how I'm going about it. So I'm basically just making tiny pleats as I sew along. So just make sure to do exactly what I'm doing right now. So guys, this is what I had after I was done stitching the net all the way around the end of the skirt. And that's basically all for the making of these simple skirts. Your net doesn't necessarily have to be black. You can use any color that fits the fabric you're using. So thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye.